What are you doing at an Air Force base?
I'm in the Air Force Reserve. I'm Lieutenant Colonel in Public Health. Work at the base hospital here.
Wow. And you have that's an obligation you signed up for, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, after April 2nd, I'll have 2 more years to complete my 20-year commitment.
Wow. And so what kind of things do you do down there?
Well, public health is involved in things like food inspection, vaccination status, tuberculosis observance, things like that, making sure people take their medicine. So basically, it's part of what we call force health, which ensures that all of the Air Force members are ready to go and ready to do their thing in a healthy manner.
Wow. Well, Don, the reason I wanted to bring on the program tonight was because your president said something stupid.
Again?
Yes, again. I wanted to point it out to you again, just real quickly. He was in a video conference, this time with some military personnel in Afghanistan. And I don't know if you heard this or not, but in the video conference he said, "I must say, I'm a little envious. If I were slightly younger and not employed here, I think it would be a fantastic experience to be on the front lines helping this young democracy succeed." He went further, saying, "It must be exciting for you in some ways, romantic even, confronting danger." Now, Don, I don't know about you, but I find that my idea of a romantic date is like sharing a milkshake with an attractive woman. George Bush seemed to think it's getting blown up and putting your life on the line for an area that no one really cares about.
Well, I'll take a different look at that. I understand how most Americans and Canadians and civilians in general feel about, let's say, warcraft, which is the function of fighting our wars and winning the battles. And if you choose to go into the military, you train constantly, and you train to do certain things, certain aspects of fighting, certain aspects of battle. You train for various components of a fighting machine, so to speak. So you train, and you train. And basically, as a military person, you do not want to go to war. Nobody wants war. But war is...
Well...
Well, yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. Some people, you might think, do want to go to war. But when there is a war, you want to be there because you are going to put your training to use, be it as a medic to help people survive, be it as a tank commander or a pilot in an airplane. You are able to use all of the training and the equipment that you have for the purpose that it's designed, and that is to fight and win. So when you are in the military, the place you want to be is where there's action. And there's a saying that you march towards the sound of the guns, because that's where all of your training comes together, and you are going to defeat your nation's enemies. Now that could be the nation of Canada's enemies. You have sent your men off to fight in Europe during World War II. And you sent Canadians up, I believe, to Afghanistan.
We have.
Pardon?
We have.
And I believe you sent many Canadians to Korea during the Korean conflict, and I believe also to Vietnam. So you have sent your men off to fight as well. And when you're trained as a combat person, or even as a support person, supplying the food or the tires or the gasoline or the bullets or whatever, you are part of a machine that is designed to win. So he was probably pointing out that as young people, highly trained, highly efficient, ready to use all their training in combat, that's where they want to be.
But he has to understand that the families of these people who are being sent to Afghanistan, both American and Canadian, are just not going to find it romantic.
Absolutely. Romantic.
Like, how could he be so stupid as to come out and say something like this?
Romantic is a word that you would use after it's over and you have survived unscathed. Romantic is a term that you would use after the fact, but when you're in harm's way, and the bullets are flying, and you could die or be maimed at any minute. There's nothing romantic about that whatsoever. But there's something about the comradeship, the mutual support. When you're out there fighting, you're not fighting for your country. You're not fighting for your religion. You're not fighting for mom and dad back home. You're fighting for the guy or the gal right next to you. You're fighting to help them and to get them through the battle. So when it comes right down to it, the person that's out there in battle, they're fighting for their buddies, really, first and foremost, as well as...
Well, I suppose that's true, but it just seems to me as the commander-in-chief, you know, he would show a bit of sensitivity towards everyone, and he just, I don't know, this is one of the reasons why I don't understand how this guy got elected twice, because he comes out and he says stupid things like this, and, you know, I understand that you know, are trying to be objective here, but you can't really defend this guy, can you?
Well, I'm about to put on my uniform tomorrow morning as an Air Force lieutenant colonel in the medical field, and he is my commanding officer. So it would be a bad thing for me to say anything negative about my commanding officer, but I do have a calendar, a daily Bushisms calendar. That
you have that one too.
It talks about all of his misspeak.
Yes.
And his faulty grammar. And, you know, one thing I will be able to do as president is to properly pronounce nuclear. Okay?
Well, that's a good thing.
The more you listen to the news, the more you hear people saying nuclear. And that's an impronounced term. It's nuclear. Pretty easily when you look at the way the word is spelled, that's how it's pronounced. But be that as it may, he is my commander-in-chief, so I really would withhold any ultra-negative statements at this time. But from what he said, I do disagree with it being a romantic thing. It may be romantic being in a far-off country, but not when you're being shot at or your convoy is about to be blown up.
No.
Nothing romantic about that.
Not so much.
And as you know, as a possible future commander-in-chief, the most extremely hardest thing I would ever have to do would be to knowingly send off our young men and women into harm's way.
But you would agree that this is probably a pretty dumb thing to say.
Well, yeah, it was not. It shouldn't have been brought out like that. That this is a romantic thing. I think he might have said something like, "You're all young. You're away from home. You're in a foreign country where there's danger every corner, everywhere you turn. There's danger and possibility that you might lose your life."
That's true enough.
Hoping that everyone will come through this unscathed. You will look back on these times as some of the most exciting times of your life. I think that would have been a better way to say it.
That's probably true.
Pardon?
That's probably true. That's a good point.
People that, if you talk to any veterans that have served anywhere, especially some of the guys in their 80s now that served in World War II, or even the ones that served in Vietnam for that matter, this may have been the penultimate experience of their life, and everything else was anticlimactic after that. Now I'll tell you a little story. My stepdaughter's friend from high school, Columbiana High School, he went to college for a couple of years. His father is a doctor, and his father wanted him to follow in his footsteps. But Bob didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. And he knew I was in the Air Force Reserve, and when we get together, I'd say, hey, I've told my kids that you should look at the military as an option for your future, not something that you want to run down there. They're not going to grab your hand and make you sign a form or anything, but it's one of your options in life. You can go to college, you can just go to work in an automobile factory, you can start your own company, you could go to the military. And so we told them, the Air Force is, I feel, is one of the best of the services because, if you can't swim very well, you don't want to go in the Navy. If you're real gung-ho, you want to go into the Marine Corps. But the Air Force is a pretty good service. They train you very well and so on. So anyway, make a long story short, he went down and he signed up at the recruiters. He took all the tests. He could have anything he could have any kind of training he wanted. And this young man, who wasn't married yet, picked explosive ordnance disposal.
Oh my God! Why would he take? Oh, that's unbelievable.
One of the